Pittsburgh Steelers fans, loyal listeners, thank you for tuning in to the Steelers Sunday Night Q&A. My name is Jeremy Betts, and I'm joined by the legend himself, Big G. Sean Gurley, what's up, Big G? How you doing, man?
Man, what's cracking, Jeremy? What's up to all the Steel Curtain Network, Steel Curtain family out there? Man, what's cracking lacking? You know I do, man, but I appreciate coming on the Q&A, man. It's an honor and a privilege, man. So let's do what we do around Steel Town, man.
We're going to do it. We're going to chop it up. We're going to talk everything Steelers. We've got a loaded question or a loaded listener group ready to ask questions, and we're going to address everything you got. So fire away. We're going to hit them up. But I got to say, right off the bat, I absolutely love what you got going on behind you there.
Man.
That is some good stuff.
It's a lot going on, man. You know, like I said, I've been podcasting for a minute with the Know It Alls podcast, and now me, my boy Tape Boy Fresh is definitely on the Homies podcast, the after party thing, overtime, and Pump Your Brakes with the Triple OG Shannon, man. So and you know, my crew is, you know, we come together like Voltron, like the Wu-Tang Clan, man. So we're doing what we do, man, for sure. But at home base is definitely Steel Curtain Network, man.
Absolutely. And we've got a lot of good stuff coming up for you. We're going to give you some information on a giveaway in the second half of the show. So stay tuned for that. And if you're listening live, if you're listening by audio later, stay tuned for that after the ad break. We're going to talk about what you need to do to sign up for our fantastic tickets giveaway for week 1. And you're not going to want to miss that. So check that out. But Sean, let's dive into the goings on in Steeler Nation. We just had our guys, Dave Schofield and Brian Anthony Davis, the real big stars of SCN, come on and talk about a Kevin Dotson trade that just went down with the Los Angeles Rams.
Yes, sir.
But I'd love to get your initial thoughts on this while I start looking at some questions that have been coming in. Tell us what you got.
Jeremy, for sure, man. You know how I do it out there on Pump Your Brakes and all whatever else, and the Homies podcast. Everything comes with a sign.
Hey.
So we had a trade alert, man. We had a trade alert that hit big time for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Kevin Dotson went to the Los Angeles Rams. I think we trade swapped with a 4th and a 5th, and we moved. We took our 5th and 6th, one from the 2024, one from the 2025, and moved up. So we trade swapped to get a 4th round and a 5th round. So this puts us in position. Dotson was going to be in the starting lineup definitely anyway. He was a serviceable backup. But this puts us in a position to build draft capital and maybe hold on to a player that I thought we was going to cut. But somebody might be sticking around for a little bit longer, you know, for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be just another level of intrigue now as to who sticks on this offensive line after this departure. Is this the Steelers saying, well, I think we like some of our swing depth as far as guys who maybe can play multiple positions on the inside, maybe like Nate Herbig, if he's healthy, you know? So maybe we can keep one less lineman, or I don't know. They like to go in with those 9 offensive linemen every year for the most part. So I see somebody taking his spot. Who that is. It's going to be fun to see for sure. Let's bring this up along with this after one of our amazing regulars here says, are we happy? Are you guys as happy as I am about what we got for Dotson? I'm going to say I'm extremely happy. I mean, anything you get for a guy when you can dump a salary, I don't know, it was only like 2.6 million or something like that, but still gives you some play, allows you to have some room to work with throughout the season in case of injuries before that trade deadline. We know that the Steelers have operated at the trade deadline before to add linebackers, what have you. So it gives you some operating room. So I like that part of it, but also just increasing the value of your draft capital. I mean, and bumping those a 5th and a 6th to a 4th and a 5th. I mean, hey, that's a round earlier. That's 32 plus players that you get a chance to pick sooner. So that's a great work by Omar Khan and everything. So I'm definitely happy with it. Sean, you concur there?
Oh man, I agree totally, man. I think that you can never shake your hand in the face of draft capital. Draft capital is always important. I mean, look what we just pulled out we got a stud in the 4th round with Herbig coming in
Yeah, man.
last year in the 4th round, man. So, you can't lose with that. But the issue is that this also makes room for a young guy who I think Spencer Anderson is definitely now going to be on the 53-man roster, and he can play swing position all the way from left tackle to right. So now, Dotson was going to be a little disgruntled because he feels like he's just as good as the 2 guards that's sitting there right now, probably as good as the center. Hey, bro, it's time for us to part ways, but it's okay because I think that the Steelers have enough depth in that keep in 9 position for sure with the offensive lineman.
Yeah. Do you kind of see a philosophy shift here? I think a lot of fans, their ire has been raised at maybe the Steelers' propensity to kind of stick with people maybe longer than maybe the fans would think so. Do you kind of see a philosophy shift here? Chase Claypool last year, the Steelers deal him, end up with a 2nd-round pick. Kevin Dotson this year, maybe the Steelers starting to see, hey, we've tried with these guys, or maybe we can't get what we really want to out of them. Let's maximize their value here. Because I feel like that there kind of maybe has been a philosophy shift there under Omar Khan. Do you kind of feel the same way?
Man, I promise you, I was going to say Omar Khan's name, man. The Khan man is up to business, man. He does stuff that's so untraditional as far as what we know about the Pittsburgh Steelers. But in this new age NFL, you have to maximize value up when a player's hot or a team has a need. I.e., while we pulled off the deal with Claypool last year, we got a 2nd round that turned into Joey Porter Jr. So I'm excited about to see what this Dotson trade turns into the 4th round. Who knows? Next year we could get a guy that's going to be a Steeler for 10 years, man. So the Con man is up to it,
He is, man. And the Steelers' recent draft history in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round has been pretty good. I think now you're starting left tackle still and Dan Moore Jr. in the 4th round.
Facts.
You've got Nick Herbig. I mean, it's looking good. So turning that 5th into a 4th, that looks good to me on paper. So we'll see what they do with it. Trust in the process, though, man. These guys know more than we do, and still something to love and enjoy. So we were going to talk about kind of expectations a little bit for the Steelers. I kind of wanted to settle in on maybe those first 5 games before the bye week. The kind of the title of this show, and we'll get into this, I'm sure, with the questions. I've already got one here that we'll pull up in just a second. So my thought was, will the Steelers look more like the Tortoise or the Hare to start 2023? Are they getting off to a slow start? Like we've seen them kind of get off to some of these slow starts in recent years. Or are they going to start out fast? It's going to be fun to see. Big G, tell us what you think about that before we start looking at questions.
So for all the Steeler Nation and all the people out there who rock with Pittsburgh Steelers, they should understand and know that it was a different philosophy this year as far as the preseason was concerned. Coach Tomlin played those starters a little bit more than what we're traditionally used to, and comparatively to the rest of the NFL. There was a reason behind that. He was building continuity, but he was also setting us up so that now we have a fast start, because I think for as competitive as the AFC division is going to be this year, you're going to need a fast start because, it's going to be a lot of late games. It's going to have a lot of weight. So we need that hot 2-3 game win total right out the back, man.
Absolutely. And you got 2 division games in those first 5 games and an NFC Super Bowl contender in week 1 coming to your house. You better be ready for that. I mean, you better be ready for that. And Mike Tomlin knows it. And now he's got his 2 weeks to prep and game plan, but now he's also got sitting in the back of his mind, and his players do too. Man, we shredded people in the preseason. I know it was preseason. Kenny Pickett said it best. We know it was preseason, but we liked what we saw. We got done what we wanted to get done. So that to me is huge. The mindset is correct, but like you just said, Mike Tomlin says we got a young team. We want this confidence to get us out hot. We can't be starting 1-4. We can't be starting 2-3 like we have been the last few years, especially in a packed AFC. That's going to be, if you win 10 games, you might miss the playoffs. I mean, that's how good this AFC is this year. Yeah. So, you've got to be on your P's and Q's. You got to be ready to go. And I think Tomlin's got it going along those lines. I know we were talking the beginning of the year. If they get that fast start, Thomas Riley asked this question: can either of you see the Steelers probably winning 12 games? I can see them with a 12-win season.
Yeah.
I can see them with a 12-win season, Sean. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I think their basement, to be honest, is 10 wins. And I think
Yeah.
their ceiling is between 12 and 13,
Okay.
really, to be honest. So I could see it happening. Fast start or not, I mean, if we start out 4-1 or 3-2, I think we're still going to hit maybe that 11 and 12 win season.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that was the whole reason why we did what we did in the preseason. Without doing it that way, and I'm telling you, the Pittsburgh Steelers offense is about to put the NFL on notice, man. They're about to, because they have so many weapons, it's ridiculous. Wait till you see that 12 personnel and 11 personnel for 4 quarters.
Yeah.
You're gonna be like, man, what is really going on out there, man?
What is cooking in Steeltown? Looking good. I'll tell you this. What I'm interested to see is where the defense focuses their resources in this passing game. Because I'll tell you this right now, you double George Pickens, that just plays to his ball game. He can go up over both of those guys and bring down that football. Deontay Johnson's probably the one that would make more sense to try to double because he's the route runner. He's the one who's going to try to beat you with technical prowess. He's the savant, as we've been hearing that word a lot lately from the wide receiver position. But, you know, if you're going to roll some defenders over maybe to Deontay Johnson, what are you going to do? You're going to single up George Pickens all game long. He's going to eat them alive. So, and that doesn't even count your guys in the middle. That doesn't even count your speed guys like Calvin Austin and what this running game can do to you. So if Kenny Pickett can put balls on hands, that's going to be a big deal.
Hey, man, I said this, man, and I just want the Steelers fans out there to dream. Can you imagine? We got Deontay Johnson. We're out in 12 personnel. We got Deontay Johnson on one side. Line up in the slot is Freiermuth. On the opposite side, you have Washington off the ball, and you got Pickens lined up on that side, and you run Johnson across the formation. You're going to leave Freiermuth are you going to leave Freiermuth one-on-one out there on an island? Yeah. Or when you roll to the side, you got 3, okay, we audible and just dump it to Najee. He's one-on-one with a cornerback. So that 12 personnel is going to be sick, but the 11 personnel is going to even be sicker with Allen Robinson and Calvin Austin III, man.
Yeah, they can beat you so many ways. And I think one of the biggest boosts this year is that they can beat you so many ways out of the same formations too. And so you're not going to be able to know what's coming because Darnell Washington can go 30 yards up the seam, or he can kick you outside faster than anybody else. This guy's got I think we saw what we need to see out of him. I know we kind of wanted more maybe from the pass catcher department, but he just dominating defensive ends and linebackers in the blocking game. And that's what you really want out of this guy this year. Pat Freiermuth's going to catch the passes. He's going to be your tight end target. Washington will supplement in the red zone and everything, but just his blocking ability. That's why they drafted him. I mean, let's not get too cute with this, right? Let's let the big boy go be a big boy and beat up some guys on the defensive line. So let's go ahead and pop this up while we're talking. You know, we mentioned the trade earlier. This is our boy. This is Tate. Tate Boy Fresh. He asked, Kendrick Green staying? That's a question. It is a question. Is this an either or, Kendrick Green or Spencer Anderson, or do you think maybe both of these guys make it?
I think Spencer Anderson is definitely on the roster without a shadow of a doubt. But Kendrick Green, this is the thing, man. Tomlin was trying to find a position for that guy all in the offseason and the preseason, man.
Yeah.
They moved him around at fullback. They played him at center. I saw in practices where they were playing at both left and right guard. They're trying to make a spot for him, man. So maybe by trading Dotson, because Tomlin sort of likes Green a little bit, I'd give him maybe a 60-40 chance right now to make the roster, but we'll see in the next couple of days.
We will. Personally, if Green doesn't make the roster, I will not be shedding tears. But I mean, he's put in work. I think, you know, we throw him under the bus a little too much as fans as a whole, as if he's not trying. I think he's trying. I just don't know if he's good. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I try not to dog him too much. He's a good guy. I got to give him a high five at training camp, and he was talking to the fans on the way down. This guy, he's a man of the people. He's a team first player. So, I mean, he doesn't hurt the locker room. That's for sure. You just hope that maybe, and I thought he looked a little better at guard when they played him in this last preseason game. And I know it was against the Falcons twos, but he looked a little better putting his body into people instead of, you know, just being a guard. trying to use his wingspan as much. But let's piggyback off of this here and add from AJC, Spencer Anderson, or Cook. I think this is let's see. I'm trying to think of Cook's first name. It's escaping me right now.
I don't think Cook makes the roster, man.
Yeah, I don't either.
I just don't see it.
Yeah, I think this is Anderson. If when in doubt, go with the draft pick, right? For the Steelers, typically. So that is something to watch. Obviously, we don't know what they'll do, but keep an eye out. That trade or that deadline for cuts is coming soon. Yeah. We're going to take a quick break on the audio side and get a word from our sponsor. But here on the live show, we're going to stay put, and we're going to be right back with you and talk some more Steelers football on the Steelers Sunday Night Q&A, answering your questions. And we'll also get to how you can enter to win our special Fans First Sports giveaway. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. All right, welcome back to the Steelers Sunday Night Q&A. It's Betts. It's Big G. We're talking with you, chatting it up, answering your questions. Before we dive into more content and question answering, though, this is what you came here for. This is what you want to hear. Attention, sports fans. Are you a fan of an NFL team? Would you love to attend your favorite team's Week 1 game? Well, you're in luck. Fans First Sports Network is giving away 4 free tickets. Count them, 1, 2, 3, 4 free tickets to the Week 1 NFL game of your choice. Doesn't have to be Steelers versus Niners. Doesn't have to be that. It can be the team of your choice. If you somehow catch this and you're not a Steelers fan, you're not a Niners fan, and you want to hit up a different game, doesn't matter. You can go to the Week 1 NFL game of your choice. Get this. Up to, yeah, that's right. Straight facts. Up to $5,000. That's 5 with 3 zeros after it. Those are some dang good seats, my man. And so definitely check this out. And here's how you do it. The rules to enter are simple. Step 1, go to contest.fansfirstsports.com. That's contest.fansfirstsports.com and fill out the appropriate information. Then step 2, find us on Facebook and like our page. That's all you got to do. Let's go to contest.fansfirstsports.com, fill out with your information, and then find us on Facebook and like our page. That's it. That's all you got to do, man. Simple, easy. Once you've done that, you've been officially registered to win the 4 free tickets to any Week 1 NFL game of your choice. What are you waiting for? Right now, while you're listening, go enter at contest.fansfirstsports.com for your shot at seeing your favorite team in action. And this is the important news right here. Contest ends on September 4th.
Yeah.
It's coming up. Middle of this week. Get on it, people. Get on contest.fansfirstsports.com and go sign up and like our Facebook page. All right, enough of that. Let's get back to the conversation here. And I wanted to talk a little bit now, again, about our fast start. We've got San Francisco coming up in Week 1. And I know Steelers players, Steelers coaches, that's all they're focused on. But then, Big G, you got a Cleveland Browns team that's got a lot of hype of their own coming into this year, coming into town for primetime football, Monday Night Football. Is this a hugely important game for the Steelers, or can they lose this one and still be okay? Or is this kind of where they first make a statement here?
No, I think the statement is Week 1, and them being focused on the 49ers and putting a game plan. From what all I'm hearing is Tomlin's done put the game plan in to like today. Like the game plan will be ready to go way before, the first 14, 15, 16 plays will be scripted. So they're ready to roll with that. But you can never discredit or discount the Cleveland Browns, who's the original rival of the Pittsburgh Steelers in Week 2 in a primetime game. For all you guys that don't know and understand out there this year, every AFC North game is pivotal.
Yeah.
You cannot afford to drop home and away. You got to win those games that you're supposed to win. And so because of how competitive the division is going to be, it's time to win, So I don't think they're going to overlook the game. I think just as much focus is going to be on San Fran as it is in Cleveland. It's just they're only going to get a week to prepare for Cleveland versus 2 weeks for San Fran.
Yeah, and this being the first home opener in 8 years or more than that? I don't remember. 2014, I think, is the last time the Steelers opened at home.
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin's going to have his team ready, and these guys are going to come out in front of an Acrisure Stadium crowd and be ready to roll. So I agree with you. The real litmus test is week 1, and it's great that you catch them there. But you got to go win those division games after. You got Baltimore in week 5 as well in that front side before the bye week. And how do you feel about the early bye week, by the way? Is that okay with you? Do you care, or do you prefer those later ones?
At this particular season, I think the early one's going to make all the difference.
Okay.
The reason being is because how competitive the NFL is going to be right off the gate. So to where I like being lathered up going into the playoffs. I mean, I like you got the bye week late. That means guys get to rest, and I think it breaks the rhythm. So I'd rather have it, me personally, within the first 4, 5, 6 weeks versus towards the end, because rest only benefits you when you have injuries. If you don't have injuries, you need to keep playing every single week. Trust me, from a guy that played college football, I know you don't need to be resting that, because that'll throw your rhythm off completely.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Get those guys rested up. If the team's struggling, then I like that early bye week. Maybe redirect a little bit. But yeah, I typically prefer, like last year, that the week 9 bye week, I think it was that was great with me. Right in the middle of the season, kind of gives you a true halfway break. But it could be worse. I think there's teams that have week 4 bye weeks, so it could be worse for sure. Let's hop into some roster talk here with the cuts deadline coming up. Anybody that stands out to you maybe that could be a surprise cut? As Brian Brown asks, what surprise cuts do you think are coming?
So I'm gonna preface this. I can't tell you which guy it's gonna be, but I think there's gonna be a surprise cut in that defensive backfield, especially at that cornerback position. There's some stuff going on with Levi Wallace, and I don't know if he's necessarily gonna make the squad. He might. He's a great special teams guy. Don't get me wrong, but I'm saying as far as actually, because this is why I'm saying it. After Corey Trice got hurt, look at how many defensive backs they ran into camp. That wasn't by accident. It looked like every other week we were looking up, they were bringing another DB in, another DB in, another DB in. That was for somebody's spot in particular. So that's why I'm like, okay, there's something going on in that corner room. And the odd man out, is looking like Levi Wallace, man.
Wow. See, I kind of feel like it might be James Pierre.
Could be.
As opposed to Levi Wallace. I think the Steelers are probably going to trot out Wallace opposite Patrick Peterson in week 1. I don't know. We'll see. But I agree with you. That the team has been exhausting all options at cornerback, seeing if somebody could stick back there, especially Corey Trice goes down. And obviously you hate it for Corey, but you hate it for the Steelers team too, because it looks like they were pretty excited about this guy. They thought he had a chance to play this season, probably the way that they were talking him up and in OTAs and everything, and didn't get a chance really in camp to show anything. So we'll have to wait on that. But
see, I'm the guy that believes that JPP is going to start. So I think he's going to start. I'm that guy. So I do hot takes all the time.
Sure.
And I think that young guy, man, he's a little different.
Okay.
So I wouldn't be shocked if they started him opposite. But Wallace might make the team.
Yeah.
Who knows? But James Pierre definitely could be on the hot seat. Definitely.
Yeah, and I definitely think you'll see Joey Porter Jr. in the ball game at some point in week 1, because they're going to rotate guys like crazy on this back end. Patrick Peterson's going to move inside. They're going to give you all different looks. You've got Elijah Riley and Shandon Sullivan working to see about that slot corner spot. If both guys make the roster, they've got 2 capable guys that they can rotate in and out as well. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think if I had to pick a surprise cut area, it might be along that defensive line. Maybe somebody like Montravius Adams is the odd man out with Keanu Benton playing well in the middle. I don't know. Maybe they want to give the Rook a little more run. Maybe it's Armon Watts. I think he's looked really good, but I think he was kind of considered potentially a lock to make the roster at some point. Watts was, so we'll see.
Jeremy, let me ask you a question, man. So if you had to have defensive backs or defensive linemen, which guy would you rather have more of going into camp?
I'm saying defensive line going into the season. Yeah, defensive line. You got to have as many guys to rotate in there as absolutely possible, especially when Kenny Pickett obviously has looked really good on the offensive side of the ball. I'll bring this around back to the defensive line. But if you're not sure that guy is him at quarterback, if you're not sure he's going to be a top 5 type player, then to me, the next most important thing is what you're doing up front on the defensive side of the ball.
Agreed.
We saw it with Philly. We've seen it with San Francisco. We saw it with Tampa Bay when they beat Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
What was that about? That was that front line. That was that defensive front 7 making life extremely difficult for Patrick Mahomes and not even letting the Chiefs get rolling at all. So we've seen it work at the highest level, and that's how you got to get it done. Now, if the Steelers potentially have that quarterback and that defensive line, that's where things get spicy real quick for this team. So I would go with the defensive line.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see, and that's why I think something's going to happen with that defensive backfield.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see a surprise cut there versus any other position across, the whole team.
You know who doesn't think that way anymore, Big G? It's the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah,
the Baltimore Ravens, they prioritize that back end. And they haven't been prioritizing the front 7. I think that might come back to bite them this year, especially after some of the injuries they've sustained in the back end as well. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, agreed. They brought in Jadeveon Clowney. I think he might be a little long in the tooth, but we'll see for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Working through, try to find some more questions here. Let's see. Do you have a specific player that you are keeping your eye on that on the defensive line that you really liked this offseason and preseason that you think needs a bigger shot at playing?
I like Loudermilk. I think Loudermilk is Loudermilk was built or built to be a Steeler without a shadow of a doubt because the way he plays. He's super aggressive. He gets a lot of push. He's got really good hands too, man. So I would love to see Loudermilk get PT. I doubt it because of really how successful Keanu Benton's going to be. And we know about the veterans that do on anchor on both sides on the defensive line. But I'm interested to see how often the Steelers are going to switch out of that 3-4-4-3, because we run a combo meal as far as that defense is concerned sometimes. So I want to see how much they switch and they go from base and they put a guy with their hand down because I think in this NFL, you have to be able to move guys around like chess pieces. That's the whole reason why we brought in a guy like Keanu Neal because he can drop down in as a linebacker and move back and forth. So I'm anxious to see what happens as far as the schematics or the scheme is on the defense. We know about the guys on the edge. We know. We know what's going to happen. And we know what's up with Minka, and I'm pretty sure about what's going on with Patrick P. But what's going to happen scheme-wise with the rest of the defensive players? That's what I really want to see.
Yeah, an underrated schemer, an underrated game planner, I think, is Terrell Austin. He does not get talked about in league, and in media circles. All the chatter about Lou Anarumo this and the guy in Miami now that was the head coach of the Broncos. I'm blanking on his name, but
Mr. Relevant. That's what I'm gonna call him.
Exactly. Terrell Austin. You got to mention Terrell Austin's name here and start giving him some credit because he puts these guys in position. The Steelers leading the league in interceptions, I think, 2 or 3 times now during his tenure as either defensive coordinator or defensive backs coach.
Facts.
That's him. You got to give him some credit where it's due here. And I think if the Steelers have a really good defensive season and kind of put it all together, that you'll start hearing his name mentioned out there. Vic Fangio is the guy I was thinking of, and that was in Denver, now in Miami. Let's pull up this in regards to surprise cuts potentially. Are there chances Gentry gets cut? He was in a walking boot, I think, this week. Even still, I don't think so. What do you think?
They're going to camp with 4. They're going to leave camp, break camp with the 53-man roster with 4 tight ends. Hayward's going to make it. Washington's going to make it. Farmouth's going to make it. And Gentry's going to make it. Now, if they slide, I wouldn't be shocked if they slid him, put him on the PUP list or something like that, just to stuff him and hide him as far as a roster spot is concerned. But Gentry is way too valuable. If we're going to trade Dotson, What do you think we could get in a trade for Gentry? Because Gentry is Gentry probably on at least 10 other teams would start tight end. He's really that good of a player.
Yeah.
So
sure.
I'm saying that there's no way we're going to cut a guy that we could get trade value for. So you can see him get stuffed in the pup or something like that. They'll do something creative, but he's on the squad, man.
He is, and I mean he's in this locker room too. He's part of that culture there. You know, he's all over Steelers social and their media's outlets and videos and everything. He's grilling with Pat Freiermuth, and I mean he's a part of this team this year for sure. Injury or whatever, like you said, if they have to get creative with his roster spot, they will. But he's going to stick put. And like you said, I think he jumps in as a blocking tight end for a bunch of teams, and maybe not the pass catching side of things, but he would be at least a 2 tight end on the field a lot for most teams with his skill set. So, and a guy that has grown exponentially in his time in the league. So I think he's still on this team. I had thought early in the process especially when they drafted Darnell Washington, and the Steelers really don't typically keep 4 tight ends, but each guy has a specific role. You've kind of seen that play out.
Yeah.
And I really don't personally see Connor Hayward as a tight end in the true sense of the word. You're not going to ask him to block in line. You know, you're going to use him in that H-back role. You're going to use him. We saw it running back some in the backfield, swing passes, things like that. You're going to use him creatively. And then, you know, he's just a ball player. He's one of my favorite players on this entire roster because he just plays ball and doesn't make a fuss, goes out there and plays his role, whatever he's asked to. I think he embraces the chaos that he causes when he steps on the field.
Well, for those folks that don't know him at Michigan State, that's what he did at Michigan State.
Yeah.
At Michigan State, they moved him all over the place. He was an inline tight end, H-back, tailback, offline tight end, lineup, and sometimes a WR. That's what this kid is. So he's, like you said, a football player without a shadow of a doubt.
Absolutely. Let's keep talking roster here. Afton asks, who stays at safety? This is an interesting question. There have been some guys popping. Ooh. I really like Trenton Thomas. I thought he played, or Trenton Thompson. I thought this dude played like a house of fire in the preseason. I don't think he makes this roster, but I liked him a lot. What do you think?
But that's what I'm saying, and I mean this is just a hard Q&A as well because the Steelers have so many guys that you're on the fence about whether or not they'll make it, and then the reaction is going to be if we cut a guy, where's he going to end up at? Because we know we're getting a good player, and you hit the nail on the head as far as the safety position. Thompson should, based on his play this preseason, should be on the Steelers roster. But does he make it? Man, I don't know, man. I don't know. That safety position might be the hardest cut down. Really, to be honest, that safety position is hard.
It is, and you got established vets on there that you probably don't want to let go of, especially when you've got some young corners in the room that you want to try to bring up. But I mean, Elijah Riley, super interesting because he can play multiple roles.
Yes.
You got Mike Tomlin's Swiss Army knife, Trey Norwood still back there. Who
man? Don't he love Trey Norwood? He got a special place in his heart for him, man. He really does, man.
I think on draft night sometimes you can just tell Mike Tomlin loves a specific player. When he said Swiss Army knife, you just this guy. It don't matter what he does, he's going to be on this roster until his contract expires. So absolutely. I don't know if he makes this team either, and I think he's a good backup safety. So, man, the Steelers got some tough ones. Here's what we should say. We just kind of wrap up the roster decision talk with come talk to us Tuesday. And then we'll break it down once the decision's been made, then we'll break it down.
But a lot of this credit goes to the con man. The con man, Doc, man, we couldn't have landed a better GM, man. We couldn't have, man. The con man came and he put his fingerprints on the Steelers early. And so this is the beginning of it. So can you imagine how we're going to look in 2 years or 3 years? Man, there's going to be a lot going on with Pittsburgh, man.
Yeah, I think that's another thing we should keep in mind as a fan base here is 2023 is just the beginning. of this whole experience. And you got Kenny Pickett on a rookie contract for 3 more years. I mean, this is a team that their best days are still ahead of them, Big G.
Yeah.
I mean, their best days are not 2023. And if they can be something special in 2023, you've got to love the window that this team is opening up.
Well, all the Steeler fans that's out there, that ones that need to relax about Kenny Pickett, he's him, man. Kenny Pickett is that guy. He is him. He's that guy, man. We got our franchise guy. So just pump your brakes about all that other stuff. We're going to build around this kid. And like you said, this is just the beginning. This is the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
So, we're going to have some very successful seasons moving forward in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. All right. Let me ask you a question. Just give me a yes or no. All right.
Gotcha.
To this question. Before the preseason, were you concerned about the Steelers' inside linebacker room?
Before the preseason?
Before the preseason. Were you concerned about that inside linebacker room?
No. Because of the trades, that were made, or the pickups that were made, like Roberts and whatnot prior to. And then we added Alexander right there at the brink.
Yeah.
So no.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I should have asked yes or no. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah. Before the preseason started, I was very concerned about this inside linebacker room. I'll be honest with you. I thought the coverage issues or potential coverage issues would actually be issues. I thought Elandon Roberts wasn't going to be super explosive. That's all changed. Afton hits the nail on the head here with this question. How do you feel about inside linebacker of this last preseason game?
Yeah.
Throughout the preseason, the script is totally flipped in my opinion. I think these dudes know what they're here to do in Pittsburgh. I think they realize that Mike Tomlin has asked them to be the steel of the steel curtain in this rendition of it. They're going to lay the hammer down on some people this year. That's their job, and I think they're going to be pretty darn good at it. What you think?
Oh, I agree, man. I'm going to tell you inside linebacker I'm really impressed with, man. Mark Robinson.
Yeah.
I like Mark Robinson, man. I like what he did and changed his body. I mean, I like all the guys. I like Alexander. I like Roberts. I like all of them. But, man, that Mark Robinson guy has
he's your fourth.
Breaks out of me.
He's your fourth guy right now. You got to absolutely love that. I mean, that's incredible that he's your fourth linebacker. And if you get an injury to somebody that he can just step in, and I think I liked him in coverage in the preseason too, more than I thought I was going to. I thought he's made significant strides, and I mean, maybe it was to be expected because he's only played the position for so long, and Mike Tomlin saw what he saw, and he said, this guy can play linebacker if we just give him some time. But I underestimated him. I think he's going to be a player for this team this year.
Yeah. This is the first time in a long time that I look at the 53-man roster and you go first starting guy and guy behind him.
Yeah.
And I don't see any holes. I mean, this is it's been a long time coming. So definitely.
Yeah. We always talk about depth, and one of the big things to me about the preseason is you see depth in play. And I think, the Steelers won all 3 of their preseason games last year. I think their depth typically is better because they draft and develop. These guys know the system, and you got most of these other teams that come in and they've got a bunch of new guys, new faces that they're trying to work into a new system. So you can win some more preseason games that way. I think that's why Baltimore's been so good too, because they also draft and develop in the preseason. But this year, I think I can't remember who it was that said it. It was on one of the on the postgame show. So it was Dave or Brian or Jeff, but they were saying the Steelers won their preseason games differently this year. It was more dominant, and all the way through too. And I think you got splash play from the depth, not just solid, steady stuff. And you get some of that too, but you get some splash from this depth. Nick Herbig getting some splash out there. Shandon Sullivan, Elijah Riley intercepting passes. You've got guys that if they're called upon to come in, one of my big takeaways from the preseason has been Nick Herbig is asked to come on the field. It's not just going to be hold down the fort. Don't make a mistake until TJ Watt gets back out there. It's go give us a spark, man. Go ahead.
Go get him.
Yeah. That's how
I
I see
see
it.
Tomlin. I saw Tomlin running up and down the sideline talking about who little brother out there, on
Yeah.
a video clip, and he's talking about that's baby TJ Watt out there causing problems. That's
Yeah.
what he's referring to, man. So it like I said, four outside linebackers: Golden, Highsmith, Watt, Herbeck. Man, it's gonna be problems for the league with
Yeah.
depth.
Absolutely. I'm loving it, man. Let me see. I had another question here. This one from Ahmad Bell. Hashtag we are victorious. How many points do you think you guys average? Let's just answer that first question. That's been a big talking point this offseason. Are we going to average 30 points? No, we're not going to average 30 points a game.
No.
What do you think? What's your expectation for points average here?
Well, I think it's a two-part answer. I'm going to go fast. The issue is that the scoring average across the NFL has raised every year for the last 3 years in a row, right?
Yeah.
And so the league scoring average is somewhere around that 22, 23 points a game, right?
Right.
So I look for the league in totality to go up around 24, maybe 24 and a half. And I think the Steelers is maybe a point better than that. So I think Pittsburgh's going to average between 25 and 26 points a game, which is very serviceable, for us to be able to be competitive in our division.
Right. Yeah. And I think the other thing to consider with PPG, points per game, is that it's environmentally based a little bit as well.
Correct.
You get these teams with Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, they're just by nature going to be in more shootouts because they score fast. Their opponents have to score to keep up. They're just going to be in more shootouts. And so it's all a little bit relative. I mean, you typically don't have a team that's just scoring 35 points a game and giving up 10. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's not typically like that. So I think it's all relative a little bit as well. But I think you hit the nail on the head here. This is about where you rank amongst the league. It's not a specific point number. The Steelers could score 24 points a game, and that might not be enough in 2023. It might have been enough in 2022. It might not be enough in 2023. Correct. So where's that 10 to 16 range of teams? What are they scoring per game? You'd love to see the Steelers. I think seeing the Steelers offense in that range, that's a huge upgrade, obviously, on what we saw last year. So I 100% agree with you. That's the best way I've heard it put all offseason by anybody is that, man, let's see where they rank at the end of the year with the teams that they're playing against, as opposed to, we just need to hit 24 points a game. You know what I mean? So
that going about it that way is not going to be beneficial, for us, because there's going to be some games we're going to have to win a grind fest.
Yeah.
Me and Tay Boy Fresh been saying all along on our show that, hey, man, we're going to build a bully in Pittsburgh, but we have an offense that's capable to shoot it out with you too. If you want to hit 30, 35, okay, let's go. Let's do what we do.
And I think we saw a glimpse of that last year against the Bengals. They didn't win, but we saw it, right? And we saw that maybe with another year under their belt, Kenny Pickett and company, they're in for that type of ball game as well. It doesn't have to be 21 to 16 every week. So we will see. Let's round out. Final question here, since we've been talking about the roster. Cut down day coming up very quickly. Every team going from that 90 threshold all the way down to 53. That's a lot of players about to hit the market. So with that in mind, if you were to make a move, what area would you address? Are you cool with this roster at this point? Or if cut downs come and you see a guy that maybe a veteran cut to save money by a team, at a specific position, is there a position group that you would make that move?
So I talked about this in one of my other shows, and I don't like the fifth wide receiver. Let me say this. I like Boykin as far as special teams. I like Olinsky as far as being, but I'm saying, like, if another team cuts a guy that I know could come in and be a serviceable fifth receiver, I think we go after him. Now, who that guy is, I don't know. It would really have to be, but I think with a fifth weapon in that room, Pittsburgh really gets dangerous. Now, they're already with Allen Robinson, Calvin Austin III, Deontay Johnson, and Pickens. They're already dangerous. But you add a fifth guy in that room, So I'm gonna be anxious to see what gets cut out there, because I think you can't have too many serviceable wide receivers. I just think you can't.
Not in this day and age. You absolutely can't. I think that was kind of amidst the excitement of Steelers versus Falcons and what obviously the first team did. In the second half of that ball game, nobody was doing nothing for the Steelers. No. And that was kind of flying under the radar after talking up, obviously, Kenny Pickett and company from the first half. But you had Miles Boykin dropping passes. You had Cody White dropping passes. You had guys not running good routes, not clean, crisp routes. After Allen Robinson, Calvin Austin, it could get a little dicey if you maybe knock on all the wood you can find if Deontay Johnson or George Pickens go down for any length of time. So
yeah.
Big G, it has been a pleasure. Thank you for chatting with me today. I'm sure the fans enjoyed it. Give us a little bit about what you do outside of this podcast, obviously, what people can find you on. I'm sure your regular listeners will be back, but let's try to get you some new ones here as well. So tell everybody where they can find you on social and also what shows they can find you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it, man. We thanks for all the people in the live chat rocking with us too, absolutely. Man. We had great questions this evening, but thank you. Like I said, thanks again for the Q&A. Big G and the Know It Alls crew and the Homies crew can be found all across our podcast throughout Fans First Sports Network. We rock out on Wednesday nights with Shannon, Triple OG White, and Tay Boy Fresh on the Homies podcast. We definitely get it in on Friday nights with I got them backwards. This Pump Your Brakes podcast on Wednesday.
That's it.
And on Friday, it's the Homies podcast. We got the overtime now with the Homies podcast that we heard. Got great reviews for our after party show where we talk about NFL stuff that's not specifically AFC Central or AFC North,
AFC North. There you go.
Yeah, for sure. You can also check me and Tay Boy Fresh and our homie Mod on the Know It Alls podcast on Sundays at 6:15 p.m. We rock out and talk all sports. We get a little hating in there for the Dallas Cowboys because, they think they're America's team, and they don't know that the true America's team is the Pittsburgh Steelers for sure. And me and Tay Boy Fresh definitely have That's Rather Cavaliers, Cleveland Cavaliers podcast. And don't forget to check my homies players, my homies guys with Payday and B Dirt on We Are Running Through the Jungle and the Bear Paw. I almost got them long run stuff because there's so many names to remember. For sure. But we guest star on some of those shows too, man. So we got a lot going on. But I thank you for letting me come on the Q&A for sure.
Absolutely. And we'll have you back on sometime in the future to talk some Steelers football and what should be an exciting 2023 season. That's going to do it for us here on the Steelers Sunday Night Q&A. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you next week.